What's up, cyberspace cadets? Sorry, Prostate here, in another edition of Hot Takes Anime. That's right, we've got your boy Pat in the house tonight, man. Say hey, Pat.
What's up, y'all?
All right, and of course, it's never it's never a hot takes without Big Fat Brian. So hey, say
what up, fam?
That's right. All right, so now we're ready to rock and roll. We sent the poll out, and the people voted for Sword Guy and the animation, which is based on a manga that came out in 2012. It's supposed to be very, very popular. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Sword Guy, the series. It's 12 episodes, 22 minutes each, and it was a lot of intense, a lot of story, man. So let's talk. Let's talk. Sword Guy.
Yeah, it's like, where to start with this? Well, first of all, it's like when you basically look at it like anime wise, like like it was real good. Seeing as they were talking about the budget they had was like not a really big one, so you had a lot of 2D and 3D animation mixed up. Now the 3D animation, what they were turning into like what do they call them, Busoma or whatever.
The Busoma, yeah.
Yeah, Busoma. Now that looked real good. Now my thing was getting me was like it was a lot of the story just kind of like like really like it just wasn't exciting. Like when it first started out, okay, you got these legendary stories out there talking about like weapons are made to destroy like all that right there. So now like these swords are like containing like all these little evil entities, and so anybody who comes in possessed of it, all they want to do is just go around and murder.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, and it's like, yeah, right. The blood of the people that are killed by these weapons imbues it with the spirit, and each person, I guess, that it kills, it absorbs their spirit and their life force, and then at some point it becomes a demon, right? Like it's like a demon possessed, and then the person that the weapon attaches to, it's like they become what's called a chrysalis, until if they hold it too long, they become what's called a busoma, which is your full-fledged demon, and it's taken over your body completely, and there's no coming back from that. Once you're a busoma, and what the busoma looks like, a suit of armor, basically, a living weapon. So, and there's so many different characters, there's so many different busomas, so many different weapons, and I swear to God, man, this series crams so much into these 22-minute episodes. It was blowing my mind.
I know, like trying to get trying to get used to or get to know all of them at once. You had Administrative Mural, you had Guy. I guess Guy's like the like the star of them all and all that right there. I really got him started. Basically, he was born, like cause his mom, she came in possession of the sword, and after she gave birth to him and things like that, she kills herself, and in the swordsmith or whatever that found her, found Guy like clinging to the sword, so the sword was kind of bonded to him. It still didn't give that much of a story other than that, like this guy found this baby clenching onto the sword, and so he just raised him up from a baby on up to who he was right now.
Right.
And then, like I said, they had like Administrator Miro, who was basically like like a part of this organization that was tracking down these swords. But unfortunately, one got to him, and he became this big powerful motherfucker. They had so many characters in there. It's just like, who do you get?
I mean, I don't know that one got to him. He sort of kind of collected the sword and intentionally touched it and everything. He was talking about how much he loved the sword before he even touched it, which was really, to me, that was sort of weird in the beginning of the series.
Well, yeah, succumbing to temptation is kind of a repetitious theme in this thing.
Yeah.
You know, to a lot of people. What I didn't understand was like, okay, when they make the blades, is this like a ceremony where they bleed on the blade deliberately? I mean, is that like a thing? Because you know when all right, at some point Guy gets his arm cut off, and that's during that ceremony where the guy they're I guess they're bleeding a katana, which they drip blood on the katana, and then his daughter grabs the katana and she gets imbued with that spirit, and she just like starts hacking and she cuts a guy's arm off, and then the Ammon, her father, who's a master swordsmith. He melts the sword down, I guess, and turns it into a mechanical arm.
Yeah, kind of went Full Metal Alchemist right then.
Exactly, kind of like Full Metal Alchemist. Exactly, that's exactly what I thought about when I saw that. And so, okay, so now we've got the arm that kind of becomes like this sword thing. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start. I forgot to start the slideshow, which is going to be really helpful once we get going on that stuff. So we'll go from there. Say hi, everybody. And all right, we're going to start. Got a little music in the background to help us along, but we're going to have slides behind us showing excerpts from the show. All right? And it's not. It doesn't matter whether we see them or not. You know, they're going to go in a different order. I didn't want to, give too much of the story away, but there's so much to talk about. So there's 3 stages, right? You touch the weapon and you become a chrysalis. You go from human to chrysalis, and then from chrysalis to full busoma. And once you're a busoma, you're like you're possessed, and there's no coming back from that.
That's right there.
Exactly.
I'm like, that's got to be like a jacked up fate right there, man. It's like. Like, then you touch this sword, and then you just like, you're trying your best to hold on to your sanity, but knowing one day you're gonna become like this Busama, like this, like this demon that's just, designed to kill, and it's like that's got to be one of the most fucked up things in the world to have.
Well, yeah, it's sort of like an analogy for somebody who uses drugs to solve their problems.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. I see exactly what because there's an addictive quality to this, and then once it takes over, the addiction takes over, and then it's almost like you're dealing with the addict instead of the person. You're dealing with their addiction, and they say and do horrible shit, and they hurt the people they love, and we see this happen a lot. At the beginning, the pregnant lady. That was killed. That was Mura. Was that Mura that killed him, or was that the? I can't remember who did what.
No, it wasn't Mura. It was one of the guys, who was doing with the ceremony was that they were slicing their hand, and they were
right.
They were
That's
putting
right.
their blood on to contain the spirit, but somehow the sword got a hold of him. So that's when he went around and started killing the people that, he was helping perform the ceremony. Then he just went around the town killing everybody until he got a hold of old girl's husband. When they walked somewhere, dude had killed her husband, and by the time he had gathered his senses, that's when he had dropped the sword, and old girl was already pissed off, because this dude just killed her husband. So she took up the sword and
I gotta say that the intro of the series that was a pretty good hook, because I was like, okay, this is gonna be pretty amazing when you start out as the story with a bunch of people getting killed by a demon sword, and then all of a sudden the lady hangs herself, and there's a baby that's now attached to this demon sword. So I thought that was pretty cool, but there were a couple of things that seemed a bit off to me, like the fact that the demon swords were legendary but not rare.
Right.
They, every episode seemed to have 1 or 2 extra legendary swords in it.
Weapons. Go ahead, Pat.
What up now?
he was talking about the number of weapons, and what I was gathering is that basically any weapon can become, imbued if it kills enough people, right? So we had the rings, the flying rings, which they didn't really talk about too much, but it was like created by that Indian god, and the older the guy that gets the rings. The flying rings that cut will cut the motherfucker up. Yeah, the guy with the long hair. He is from World War II, and so what they do is to keep these people from becoming full busomas, and they get them working for them so they can gather these weapons. What they're doing is they're collecting these possessed weapons so they don't hurt as many people, but they have to use people that are chrysalises, and the way that they're keeping them in stasis is they're freezing them and then unfreezing them, right? So this dude with the long hair, he's like from World War II. Now, I can't tell if he's supposed to be a Japanese soldier or if he's supposed to be an American soldier, but he's got blonde hair, but he's got a Japanese name. And that was kind of confusing to me. I couldn't tell what they were trying to do. But I'm going on basis, that since they're going with Japanese names, that these are Japanese people are supposed to be. That was kind of confusing to me. But his character was interesting because he was still in love with the woman that he had fallen in love with originally. So I thought that was a nice heartwarming part. There was this odd thing about the Warhammer, which
because it forged all the weapons rather than killed all the people.
Well, it was like the old lady that they killed her. The guy chokes her to death and then throws her to the bottom of the ocean, and then she comes back up with that hammer, and she's like full. I guess she's a full Busoma because she's dead right when she goes into the water. And
is she? I didn't think she died.
I don't think she died.
All right, so because I was wondering like why were her eyes glowing and shit when she came back up? See, that was confusing to me.
Yeah, it's like when she was, when he threw her down there and she was on the verge. That's when like the hammer had called out to her and
talked to her, right?
Came to her, and that's how it came in like possession. It was more like it like possessed her more than like like she died and she just became like a full-fledged someone right then and there.
Yeah, she was more like just a full-fledged chrysalis. She just kind of skipped that growth stage, I guess, because when she came back up, she just she killed that old man pretty fast. But I thought that was kind of like a funny little story that they threw kind of in the middle of it. All these different people that are imbued with these weapons are so strange. You got the bizarre hairdresser guy and the chick with the long hair, and they're kind of nudging you in as to stereotypes and shit with this stuff, which I thought was funny. Like the old woman that ate when she was eating the gold.
She was gluttonous.
Yeah, she was so greedy. Exactly. I thought that was funny as shit. So there was a good sense of humor.
Yeah, that was. I kind of noticed that too. There was kind of like that little, like 7 deadly sins kind of thing to it as well.
Yeah.
Like every person they was introducing and stuff like that. Like the lady eating the gold. That's kind of like gluttony. Then you kind of got like but the one guy who was like jealous of was jealous of the guy because he liked the old girl, but the old girl kind of like had a thing for guys. So kind of like. Yeah, like he kind of like jealous and envy of them and all that right there. So kind of had like that little going on there. It's like 7 deadly sins mixed up with Full Metal Alchemist, mixed up with Naruto. It's like they jumping a whole lot of stuff into this first season.
Yeah, I completely agree. They had a lot. It was almost a bit too much for one whole season because they jumped around so much and to me. I'm not a huge anime fan, but usually an anime will have, or at least the ones that I've seen, have a sort of a linear direction they're trying to go in. They're trying to fight for this one thing or that one thing, but I guess in trying to do character development, it seemed to go all, you know, what is that called? Uh, sword art. There's this anime called Sword Art Online or something. And
I know.
yeah, it seemed to do that when it came to like character development, because you know, the characters would get all angsty and sad, and they'd be over emotional about all these little things that sort of, you know, didn't really matter because there's a guy with a sword over there killing everyone, you know? Like, it seemed trivial to have that in with all of the rest of the story, you know?
Yeah. And like I said, you know, it was just too much coming at you in just one season. When all the stuff and the ideas that they jumped up in this one season could have probably stretched, you know, like in other seasons, like, you know, start out with Guy and Administrator Moore and all these, you know, these other two guys and all that right there about what they call them, Sudoku or whatever. They could have started out with that, like, you know, like how the Sudoku really are, you know, how they come together, how they go into this, like, you know, stasis where if they almost reaching their Busoma limit, they go into this, you know, deep sleep until they're needed again. They could have kind of explained that, and then like how Guy, you know, how he got to joining them and all that right there, and how Administrator Mura, the way he is right now, because I think, yeah, he just full-fledged Soma, ain't he?
Right.
So it's like, but
Yeah, I think he was full-fledged Persona.
Yeah, and then what about the like I called it the Living Tribunal ripoff kind of thing? You know what I'm talking about, Brian? The three faces. It's like, what were you know, what was that about? Because that go ahead.
It's almost like they're the company.
Right. Well, so we've got this organization. It doesn't. We don't know who's behind it. You know, where the money's coming from, because they need a shitload of money to do what these people are doing. You know, I mean, the fucking they've got this. I guess it's in the ocean, like this facility where they have all these people. They got a bunch of MRI machines and shit. They've got this giant screen, you know, where these three heads pop up, and they judge whether a person is worthy, I guess, or not, of joining their organization. And so you've got and then there's the different characters that get I guess initiated into the company or whatever. I think is it the Shodokai or the
that's what I'm telling you. I forget the name, Sudokai or something like that.
Yeah, I got it written down somewhere, man. I took some really weird notes. And then there's the Zoltgein or the Zoltgwin sword. It was interesting because the subtitles didn't always match what they were saying. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that.
So there was some, there was like some double entendre being said, like, verbally, but it was, the subtitles would say something just a little bit different. And I was like going, what's that about? And I didn't know if that was just lazy, subtitles, because, anime is notorious for really, really funny, really bad subtitles, right? So, is that one of those situations or what?
Especially like when they do like the subtitles for like the Japanese anime, but then put them on the English dub and everything is way different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like so the little blue-haired girl that's like the video game freak, right? And and then she gets a hold of the sword. It's called what, Flambers? Or Flamberga or whatever.
Flambers.
Yeah, and it's like I think that's in that squiggly sword. Is a Flambers a type of sword, or is that just the name for that specific sword? I didn't understand that, because the halberd, the guy that has the halberd, they call it the halberd, right? And that's you know, that's a specific weapon.
A flambear's is a type of sword. I just looked it up here on Google, and Google image search never lies.
Google loves you. I love Google. You know, Google is good.
Yeah, it's
all right. So all right.
Praise be Google.
Yes. All right. And her name is Midoriko. Midoriko. She's got the Sailor Moon schoolgirl outfit on, with the blue hair, and and she's a video game freak, and she's kind of an interesting person in all her own. She doesn't give a shit. She's like chaotic neutral. She's like, fuck it. This is all a game to me anyway. So yeah, you know, the sword fits her perfectly, man. Just give it to me. I'll go fuck shit up. I don't care, just as long as I win. So yeah, I liked her character. I thought she was you know, one of those, okay, she's going to be a wild card in the deal. You never know what the fuck to expect with that person, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the character Guy. All right, the guy that we were talking about with the long hair, that's like from the World War II, his name is Seiya Iocho, or Ichijo, excuse me, Ichijo. And I know
it's one of those wild names.
Yeah, Ichi means number one, I think. I know Ichi the killer, you know, it means the number one killer. But anyway, let's see. I'm looking at the names here. Next, we've got.
Is there really any explanation in the manga? Because I know you read the manga, right?
No, I have not read the manga.
Oh,
I was reading up on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, is there any explanation as to why they get like a special suit of armor when they go full Basoma or anything like that?
I think that's the demon. I think that's the way the demon fledges themselves out, because I guess what they're doing is they're fighting to become grim, maybe, or something. And so they're going to fight each other at some point. And you know, a blade can't go against a blade. So what they're going to, I guess, what they need is a body to wield the weapon. And of course, if you going to wield the weapon, then you'll need armor to do that. So that, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of deep thought going into this shit. But the armor looks cool as shit. I liked it. I like the way I like the design. I like the aesthetic. You know, I know it's not for everybody, but it kind of has a Gundam-ish feel to it. And maybe a Robotech kind of feel, but a little edgier. I don't know.
I felt like it was Power Rangers, to be honest.
I thought it was. I don't know. I like the colors too, man. To be honest,
maybe that was like the, you know, like I said, like a 2D animation and a 3D animation was like mixing in, and when they like donned the armor, that's when like the 3D animation kicked in.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it did look, but I thought it looked good. So Brian, you got more of a Power Ranger-y kind of vibe, and I can see that actually. You know, because you know. I guess each armor and each person is going to have their own personality. So what this year is doing is that they are fleshing, you know, these characters out so that we can we can follow them, you know, when the first real season of you know, new storyline comes out, because that's probably why they're doing all this stuff. I noticed that they did that with Berserk. And they also did that with Castlevania. They really gave us more of a, you know, an establishment of character, so we can have something to follow, you know, to fall back on, you know, when we, you know, see the further development as these series keep going on. Pat?
I say, yeah, I can understand, like with the Castlevania part, like I said, because they introduced Drac, then Trevor, then Sifa, then Alucard. Like I said, I still don't know if they're going to introduce Grant up in it. Like that's the only one that they really like missing out of this whole bunch right there, especially with Trevor, you know, like being like the star and shit.
Yeah.
I heard that's going to be coming out in the fall.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was wrenching somebody. What was that?
I said I heard like what the new season of Castlevania is supposed to be coming out in the fall. So if that's true, I'm gonna be looking forward to that. But that's what I was saying. Like like how in Castlevania they introduced like all the characters and all that right there, except Grant. I don't know if he's still gonna pop up in the season or whatever. But I kind of see that right there where they trying to like introduce all these characters that they're probably gonna have like like in like upcoming seasons and all that right there if they choose to go along with this, right, bro? But it's like it was just so many of them just jumbled up into one thing you can't get used to. Okay, who's this? Who's that? Like, who am I supposed to get used to, right?
Right, and if you'll notice, in the opening, it's like if you watch the opening a couple of times, you'll notice that it switches to like just groups of people. Like there's like 4 distinct groups of people. And so I've got a funny feeling that maybe that's what we're going to see is that they're going to focus on these specific groups as these seasons develop, or maybe next time it'll be 3 episodes on this one person, 3 episodes blah 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 on each group. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how they'll attack that, but I think we're all seeing the same kind of development here.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I mean, out of the 3 animes that we've reviewed, I gotta say that this is the one that I disliked the most. It had so many tropes of anime in it. Literally one of the main characters looks like Sephiroth. Come on. And then it's got the angsty teenager with the sword arm that it was funny to me. It was just not that good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was okay with it.
Yeah, I couldn't.
You're really merciless with this stuff, and
I am.
I'm a little more forgiving with the storyline. It's like because I'm new to this, it's like. Berserk did set the bar fucking really, really fucking high, man.
To be fair, I may have been a little bit harsh on Castlevania because now I see what you guys are saying. I see why people liked Castlevania so much because it wasn't this. Just the whole everyone is overly emotional all the time and. There needs to be a love story with the main character and then a love story with the other main character and then another love story with the other main character. It's like, I don't care that much. Just progress the storyline. Why are we sitting here, dwelling on who is it? Mickey, the Mickey guy who gets spoiler alert, guys. He gets killed by the company for getting 2 weapons and basically becoming a Basoma, right? and I'm sitting there like, I just don't even care that he died because I didn't care about the original story, which they have really, really, really cringy commentary back and forth, like, oh, you wouldn't be talking to any other guys, would you? Meanwhile, she's the big-boobed waifu that everyone wants.
Yeah, now, man, I'm going to agree there. This had the biggest damn tittied women I've ever seen in my life.
Right?
I mean, goddamn. Pat, come on, dude. You know what I'm saying, man. These were some fucking... They were flotation devices. They weren't tits.
Right?
I mean, golly.
The one lady that made the sword and she bled her hand onto the sword and everything as she's moving back and forth with the sword and the tits are just jiggling. Dude,
that
like
was
crazy.
Hot, man. That was sexy. that was fucking sexy. I gotta give him that. I understand, the hentai thing now. Because that was really, I thought that was actually well done, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not really complaining about that part. I'm just sort of saying that there was that aspect. That,
He's not complaining.
Yeah, no. I was fine with that section. That was totally cool. Leave that in there.
No shit.
I'm tripping off, like I said, the dude that was with her. What was that, like her apprentice or something like that? Where was she damn near killed or whatever?
Yeah. yeah, she kicked him out because she was gonna accidentally kill him, or well, purposely. But yeah.
Get out, but he's standing there like a damn fool. So okay, she takes a couple of swipes at your ass. Oh, now you're gonna move.
Exactly, man.
Like, you ain't gotta tell me twice, like saying, like, get out of here. I'm out.
Yeah. And my favorite part of this entire series was the fat lady on the boat. That
was good. It was funny.
It was hilarious.
It was really funny. I thought it was too, man. I thought it was really creative and different, you know.
I like this, big boy? So
you want to come and lose your cherry? I mean, she didn't say that, but you know, it was like she was, you know, she was thinking it, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to disagree though. I do think the design of the armor was really pretty damn good. And I'm wondering if they're going to have like model kits of this stuff come out, because I would build one. I'll be honest with you. That looks like a cool. I like designs like that. There's a bit of a I'm into this really weird kind of niche modeling community. We follow this stuff by this guy named Cal. This old. It's called Maschinen Krieger or Mackay. So if you know what that is, then you know 5 points to you. But anyway, so I like to build models occasionally of Japanesey stuff. So I would dig building a model of, especially like the Mura guy and Grimm. I thought that looked cool. Grimm was cool, really looked like a really ominous character. But you know, it's like, but you know, if I'm being honest in my heart of hearts, I compare it, you know, to Berserk, and none of this shit stands up to it. I'll be honest, you know, that you can tell that they put the most money and the most effort into that. Okay, because the story was I think there's like 25 years of story to the Berserk, so there's a lot to, there's a lot of texture to it in depth. So, and that makes sense. This comic began in 2012, so really, you know, it's been out for roughly 6 years. You know, that's about the time when Walking Dead, got their series. And so I hope the anime doesn't ruin the comic book, because when the public get it and it ruins the source material, then of course down the line the television or whatever, or the cartoon, whatever you're going to watch is going to it's going to be affected by that, and that's going to get shittier, right? So there's this looping effect. I guess is the best way to say it. A linear wise with the storyline. It's going to get worse and worse if they but if they just pay attention, and I think the writers just stay true to themselves, I think they can do something really good with this bunch of people, man. This idea that they got here. But man, not everything is going to be a masterpiece, So
no, I know that.
Pat, what did you think about Berserk?
Damn, I don't think I've watched all that.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's like 3 films. Yeah, man. I want you to check that out and get back with me and tell me what you think. And you saw Castlevania.
Oh yeah.
So what if you would contrast this with Castlevania? What would you like to have seen more of in Sword Guy that Castlevania had, and vice versa? What would you like to see more of in Castlevania that was present in Sword Guy?
I don't know. Well, Castlevania really just started off real great. They started off with the introduction of like how this all got started with Dracula. First messed around, and killed his wife, who convinced him to like leave the castle and go through the world and all that right there. And the church, who's basically had the whole entire village dependent upon them. Now she done came out with all this stuff, like these herbs and all that right there that Dracula introduced her. And of course, they manipulated the people to like, oh, she's a witch. They killed her, pissed off Dracula. And he, and he tells them like, all right, you got such and such amount of time, before I come around kicking y'all ass. So, and then the whole thing with the Belmonts and all that right there, who have been fighting Dracula all this damn time. But now when all this stuff comes down, it's like the church just manipulated a whole lot of people, to try to make themselves look innocent. When in the end it was just all their fault. But so they, with Castlevania, it's all those episodes right there with the introduction of people, like little by little, and the developing of the whole story plot going into season 2 right now. They're off to a good start. Now with this right here with Sword Guy, that's where basically, it's just a whole bunch of jumbling. It's like you jump from this character to that character to this character to that character, and you don't know which one they're going to be concentrating on. Of course, it's called Sword Guy, so you're hoping they're going to be focusing on Guy.
Right.
But it's like, like pops up like what every once in a while, little by little in the episode, and right now he just looks like this cold and kind of like emotionless person who's kind of developing, his character. But it kept jumping on to so many different ones in this whole entire series. You didn't know who to get used to. So that was one of their biggest problems. All these characters jumped up in one season when they should have been like spaced out as it really went on. So hopefully in this next season they'll kind of like do that. Like start with this one character, get themselves developed and all that right there, and then move on while focusing on Guy. Because he should be the main one since they actually named the animation to him.
No shit.
And do it like that, and that'll make this go on right there with good progression.
I agree with you 100,000% on this series. Exactly. Mm-hmm. I think that you nailed it perfectly. And then conversely with Castlevania, they were able to do that with 4 episodes. Mm-hmm. And they laid down a lot of story. What they did here, they laid down a shitload of information too. It was just kind of in an ADHD kind of fashion, whereas
yes,
whereas Castlevania is like there's some linear quality to the storyline. There was actually you could follow what was going on, and there was also like some cool shit in it, like the fucking the Cyclops thing, which was actually a machine. Which is not supposed to be from that point. So you learned a lot about Alucard before you even met him, right?
Yeah.
There was a really artistic way of telling this story, and I think that this thing falls short in that I think they're just trying to cram so much shit in your head that they really needed to, if they were going to do just 12 episodes, they probably needed to be 45-minute long episodes. And they needed to just kind of space everything out, and give a little more padding to it. But they were just pure meat, man. No fat at all, buddy.
Yeah, it's like Castlevania is kind of like, it's like Castlevania is like they gave you like a little taste of it, and you're just like, that's it. I want more. Exactly. The Sword Guy, when they just gave you a big ass pile of food and just said, eat to your heart's content.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like after this, I was going, what? And so I had to watch it again. And then I had to watch it a third time to make sure I had everything straight. Yeah, I know. Which is, Brian knows that I like to watch things at least once or at least twice before I do this show, because I want to make sure that, I've got everything in my head straight about it. And if I have to go more than twice on something, then that tells me that there's either this is true of everything. There's too much information, and it's presented in a confusing manner. And right now, if you'll notice, the slides are really looking kind of cool. So everybody focus on the look of it. I like the look, man. I was okay with it. There was some traditional anime styles presented, but that didn't really bother me at all. I was okay with it. What do you think? What do you think, Pat? Because it's like you've seen so much of the variation in the art of this of this genre. Give me your opinion.
What about the anime style?
Yeah.
I think like it was good. Like I said, like the mixed up, like the 2D, 3D, kind of like a little confusing. Like I said, like when they turned into like the with someone with the arm and all that right there. Now, like how you said, now that looked great right there, but then when they changed back and it went back to this whole 2D animation, it's kind of like didn't want to go back to there because now they done showed you this cool ass 3D arm, and it's like, man, stick with that right there.
Yeah.
So if they would have stuck with that, like like kind of like all through all these whole entire episodes, that would have made it a little bit much better. The storyline still would have been kind of confusing and fucked up, but like that part they did really good. Yeah. But it's like,
and you know what, Pat,
it was good, but it could have been better.
When we were talking about the lady that made the sword, that real sexy one, I think they were using some kind of 3D thing on her too, because I could tell that the quality of the way that she was rendered was just a little bit better than like the other big tittied women that was in the thing. So, and then there was the way they were telling the stories of when the weapons were forged and stuff. I kind of like that. It was kind of like this still, fading to another still, kind of like a slideshow-ish kind of looking thing. I was okay with that. Telling the story of how everything was, how each particular weapon was forged or how it was created, right?
How it was created and the history behind them and how they became, like what they wore. Exactly,
the storytelling of the history and the way that it was presented, with that kind of slideshow-ish, and the art was kind of reminded me of like woodblock prints or something like that, some type of printmaking process, and that's from my art background. But anyway,
yeah, I don't know. So the flashbacks on the swords and stuff that gave the backstory, I honestly didn't really like that much, because I felt like it was and I understand why they did it, because they were trying to lower the budget, but I felt like it was a cheap way to make sort of crappy art.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite on that. I kind of liked it as a variation, something a little bit different. But I see what you mean by it, because it could. I think they could have even made it look cheaper. So that I think they did okay with what they got. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because the only thing that gave it animation, they were still frames. They were like drawn pictures with fake rain over it.
Right.
And so that's I don't know. To me, that was clearly like, okay, well, you're not even animating at this point. You're just you've drawn one picture and it's sitting there.
Well, you remember the old school shit like Speed Racer and stuff, where it would literally be a still head and nothing but the mouth moving, for 5 minutes of like pure spoken word, and it would be like, God damn, I remember when I was a little kid watching Speed Racer, I was like, the style was like, it was fascinating because it was so weird.
But this is 2018, bro.
I got you, bro. I'm with you. And that was a long damn time ago, man. I think Speed Racer was originally done in the 50s.
Man, classics never die.
Yeah, no shit, man. No shit.
Until the modern age hits them, and then they be trying to kill them. Like, oh no, I'm going back to the original because y'all fucking it up with these readings.
Yeah, I remember watching Speed Racer as a kid. I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I loved the Chim Chim for some reason. As a matter of fact, I wanted to name something Chim Chim, and my dad wouldn't let me name it that. I was like, "What the fuck?" Anyway, I still don't. I still don't understand the logic behind that. But whatever. Parents will be parents, idiots at times, but wise in other times. So, go ahead.
So. Well, I had a point, and then I lost it. What was it? Well, I can't remember. I'm being quite honest. I completely lost it. My bad.
Well, man, we do that. Zone out a little bit and then forget what's going on. Has anybody in the chat got any questions or any statements they want to make about it? Anybody want to hop in and make a statement? We're right at 1:45, so it's that time. If you want to come in and do a quote phone call, I'll put my Discord in the description. Let me go ahead and pull that up, and we'll pop that Discord in. And
that's right. It was the points that Pat was making about it being sort of a jumble.
Right.
I feel like it also, because it was such a jumble, it lacked progression. So if you think about it, from the beginning of the series, right, the only thing that happens to the main character is that they already had the sword. He grew up, loses an arm, gets it replaced as a sword arm. Right. That's pretty much it. That's and he meets other people, but that's nothing. No actual progression over the entire series.
Right, and that's what Pat was saying earlier. He said we don't really see anything about Guy except that he's like a distant person. He's not emotionally connected to anybody, which kind of I think there's a bonding thing, I think that they're trying to imply there. And maybe that's the same kind of thing with Guts from Berserk,
I don't know, man. Because to me, it came off as broody, angry anime teen, which is...
Well, fair enough, man. It's like, I think we all go through a broody anime teen emo phase. I mean, shit.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I did. Hell, I hated the world one day, and now I just dislike it. But I see JoJo is waiting for us, so y'all let's let JoJo in the room and let him tell us what he thinks. JoJo.
Can y'all hear me?
Oh yeah, very clear.
My whole thing about the show is I don't think the sword that Guy has is the real version.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
Because wasn't that a thing they were trying to say, that the version they had wasn't the real?
That there were two right. There were two versions of that sword. He was right.
Because if the sword was so perfect, how is it even able to be broken?
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it was a good show. But yeah.
So you enjoyed it?
It tried too hard though.
Keep going. We're listening.
But yeah, it did have a lot of like shonen tropes.
Okay.
Like the bad guy being a former good guy.
Right.
And I'm gonna predict that the sword will be a good it'll be like the Nine-Tailed Fox. It actually change sides.
Right. Do that. They call that a heel turn in wrestling.
Yeah. But the ending just kind of brings up a lot of questions.
Yeah, and I think that it's supposed to. At the end, was he dead? And and what's gonna happen with Grim?
And who are those people?
Right, exactly.
And because they did kill off a lot of characters, though.
Oh my God, man!
Like that monk who used no weapons, but he was kind of like a chrysalis.
The one fist punch man.
Yeah, but it did have a lot of foreshadowing in it.
Okay, there was a total of 14 either chrysalis or basomas.
But that dragon, the guy who made the sword, do you think he is in the blade?
That's a good question.
Remember how they said that the blades are somewhat their makers are somewhat in the blade?
That's a good point, man. Yeah.
And when his wife and child were killed, he probably poured his anger into the version that Guy has.
Oh.
And the one that he originally made, the perfect version, has his good side, the light.
Jacob, you're blowing my mind, dude. Keep talking. That's good.
That's all I got. But
I-
some of
it
those
makes-
characters were weird.
Yeah, very. I agree,
Oh,
man.
great.
But I think the idea of the whole weapons were they were supposed to be like actual objects from history. Like how one of them was owned by the alchemist who made the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I said the whole Full Metal
Full
Alchemist.
Metal
They
Alchemist,
came
yeah.
in, they got an arm out of the sword.
Yep. Because Philosopher's Stone is a repetitive element. Really, in
And
a
a
lot of
lot of
stories,
things.
yeah, and not only Japanese stuff,
Like
but
in Harry Potter.
yep, in British, it's a Brit thing. Has to do with more of the round table and stuff.
But
yeah,
I hope they do explain on like who's funding this operation.
Well, everyone knows it's Soros Mon.
Like, how do they know what cures how they slow the degradation process?
well, they're still working on that. Remember, they said that that's the reason they're freezing everybody is so they can, and only
But-
bringing them out when they really need them is so
That
they,
means there's someone in there who's in the very bottom of the base, who's the very first Basoma.
probably yeah.
Well, I mean, do they freeze Basomas or do they kill them?
No, they
Or
were freezing the
they
crystals.
Put 'em on, they would put them on like a medicated like coma.
No. But I like the Basoma that Miki
Oh.
became after he got
Oh,
the two.
No. Once you become a
killed him.
Basoma, they can't do
They
anything.
killed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Basoma's
Yeah,
not
but I'm
going to
talking
let
about the
itself.
other ones.
Yeah.
Right, the people who are yet to become.
The
They
the
come
chrysalids.
and-
Right, they're the ones that are being frozen. The chrysalises. They've been tainted by the weapons, and so once you've touched it, you can't be untouched at this point.
But my theory is not all. Like in season 2, the people who got GAI, those are the sort. Like not all weapons are evil. So maybe some of them are the blades of heroes. And all we've been seeing is villains.
Right.
That's true.
Right. Well, see, that's a good idea. That we probably I hope we see something like that because I think it will be a more compelling story. But
Yeah, like Excalibur.
yeah, but then again, there's that whole chaotic, neutral evil thing.
Yeah.
Versus chaotic good, which is I can see that happening too. Because
Yeah, like a blade of a person who defied someone.
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Which probably means we'll see the thing Judas used, or the blade used to kill Caesar.
Right. Yeah, that would be wild, wouldn't it?
Oh, and the person who's been saying the Castlevania thing, that's been me.
Oh yeah, that's
I'm
right.
kind of wondering, like if somewhere down the road, they're gonna have like they're able to like reverse the whole Basoma thing and all that right there. Oh, once you become a Basoma, you're pretty much like done for. Like what they have, kind of like how you remember that one anime on Claymore. How if you became
God.
like a Yoma, that was it. You were pretty much gone. But like Clara found a way to like reverse it back to where she kept like her human side.
Right.
Wait, isn't Claymore related to Blame?
I don't know. But I kind of wonder, like in this series right there, where they kind of have that right, kind of have that thing where like y'all like become Basoma, or you're almost becoming, but yet you find a way to like reverse it back.
Yeah, but the
Right.
Basomas
And
kind of
well, see, that's
they
what
kinda
the
look
that's
like
what the
something
little three blue heads were saying, is that's why they were freezing everybody, is because they're still trying to figure out how to reverse that process. And that because if they couldn't, then they wouldn't be able to. Excuse me if I'm interrupting somebody. I unplugged my headphones, so I was like not hearing anybody. I apologize for that.
Okay, but like the Basomas, to me, from a concept point of view, they look like Tetsunoku anime,
Oh yeah.
like Godsman, or
What did you think about the armor design?
I mean, they look like old anime. Like they're supposed to look like power armor, but it's supposed to be like kind of like a Metro Samus's Metroid suit,
Right.
or something out of a Tetsunoku Capcom game.
Right.
It's supposed to be. It has a form, but it's a purpose to the form.
Let's see. I was trying to think of, man. Have you ever heard of Scope Dog?
No.
Yeah, that's a real old anime from the 80s, and it has to do with, you know, powered armor and, you know, mechs and stuff. So it kind of reminded me of mechs, really, in a way, you know, like the like Gundam type, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it looks kind of like Gundam, but mostly anything looks like Gundam nowadays.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not a big fan of that real sharp.
But
And
it's kind of like Gatchaman, like how they're all unique.
right,
Yeah.
definitely. So we, all right. So Jacob, you want to give us your opinion on your scale of?
I would give it like a 5 out of 10. But
Okay.
if they would have explained the origin of like the blades themselves, what the first one was, and more like basically what Pat said, it would have been good. It would have been decent.
I agree with you, JoJo. Actually, I 100% agree with you.
Well, cool.
Because the best, not my favorite anime, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, they'll bring up the thing like an arrow. Then the next whole 2 seasons, they'll explain what made them or why they exist.
Well,
And this show did neither of it.
Right. Well, maybe we can hope that, you know, in future seasons. So, but thanks. We're going to go ahead and let you out of the room, and we'll see if there's anybody else. All right, Joseph. Thanks,
Bye.
Jacob, and I'll see you later.
Yep.
All right. So I don't think is anybody want to come in. I've got the Discord set. It's good for I think another hour. So if you want to hop in. But we're looking at right at 5 minutes, and this is when we do the wind up. So if our esteemed resident weeb and guest for the show, Pat, what we do at this point was that we do the wind down, and then you give us your score as you know, as a true fan of anime.
Yeah, like I said, as far as the animation goes, like I said, I'll give that a good like 7 out of 10. Like, you know, like the 2D 3D mix was like you know, kind of all right. Like they started out with 2D, but once they switched to the armor and got the whole 3D design, you know, I kind of like that more than anything, and kind of wish they would have stayed with that. Right. But you know, like just kept on switching back and forth, so that's where it gets me right there. Like I like the 3D better than the 2D right there, and the switch got like a little jacked up. So I get that like a good 7 out of 10. Now storyline, oh my god, too much and too little time right there. Space that stuff out. Don't just give me all this right here and then expect me to eat it all in one sitting. So it's like they gotta work on that right there. You know, like you got all these characters right now. Now you probably sitting right there with this next scene. Like, okay, we introduce all these characters now. What the hell are we gonna do with them? So space that on out, and maybe like, you know, what, 2-3 seasons on down, you know, you have that all good as you progress, you know, like, but keep the thing mainly on GAI. You know, if this is gonna be the, you know, star of your whole animation right there, you gotta have GAI up in this motherfucker. You can't be just popping up every once in a while, and we still don't know more about him, but we know more about these 10,000 other characters.
Right.
So that's one thing they gotta work on that right there. So I give that about a good 4 out of 10. You know, too much, too soon. Space it out.
Cool. So on the whole, what would you give it?
I'll say I'll do just like Jacob right there. I give it like a 5 out of 10. Like it was good, but it could have been better had they basically did those things right there. You know, like stick to a certain type of animation, and as your story progresses right there, you know, focus on your keep the focus on your main character. But you know, as these other people come on, you know, little by little, space them out. You know, like have them like. You know, like what kind of deal they got going on with their weapons and how they choose right there, and how did they get in contact with GAI and the rest of these whatever they call Sudokis or whatever. I don't know, that's a jacked up name. I gotta go back and look it up. It's like Guy's the main person, but like I said, you got Marcus and and other guys right there, and now you got Sudoichi, who turned into a persona himself before the whole entire thing ended. So you gotta kind of wonder, like, what's he gonna be now? Is he gonna be like, as well as like Administrator Mura, going around being this badass motherfucker now that he's like, in that army and shit? Or is he gonna find a way to like reverse that and be back on their side? Right. So that's the only person that Guys really bonded with besides old girl. Which when I was talking about the one side right there, like how they have people like bring him back to the good side right there. It was like every time Guy heard old girl's voice, that's when he'd like snap out of that enraged state he was in. I kind of wonder, is that going to be like his thing? Like anytime he gets enraged, he hears a voice and he comes back to humanity. So maybe that'd be like the cure right there. But it's like, this could have been good. This was good, but it could have been better. And hopefully the next season will be like that.
Good deal. Thanks, man. All right, and Brian?
Hey, Viper's in the chat.
Yeah.
At the last minute.
What up, Viper?
Hey, Viper Sword.
I pretty much agree with exactly what Pat and JoJo said. Those are my biggest problems with the story. And so if I'm giving it an out of 10 rating, for the art itself, like Pat said, 7 out of 10. This seems like somewhat average for anime art, and then when it comes to story, it was a 2 out of 10 because it was so, like, you didn't care about any of the characters. People dying were like somebody eating a Cheeto basically. so in the end, I have to give it a 5 out of 10 because this, to me, at least on a personal level, story matters more than the anime matters.
Okay.
If the animation is good, that's great, but the story is what matters. And if it's going to be a whole series and I got to watch from beginning to end to understand it, then it better have a good story.
Yeah,
I hear you. Well, before I go into my spiel, I want to thank Pat, your boy Pat, for coming out. His information his links for him are in the description. Please subscribe to him. He's got great content. I like his weekly shout outs because they're usually to beautiful women, and who doesn't like to look at beautiful women? Yeah, man. Yeah, I was gonna say something, but hey, I know how shit goes. But yeah, I've been wanting to get Pat. I've really been wanting to do just anything with Pat for quite a while. I really like the guy, and thanks so much, man, for taking your time out. I know you bust your ass, dude, and I appreciate it. And so, all right, as Irate Prostate, and as a noob, that's NEEOOB. Which is a new word meaning a new weeb. I am going to, well, obviously wasn't funny either. Fuck you. Look, I'm visually drawn because I've got a degree in fucking painting and shit. So, I give the art, I'm going to give it a 7. I give the story a 4. So that's going to put me right out of a 5.5, 5, for the total thing. Like everybody else said, there's so much to work with. There could have been better. There could have been, they could have fleshed it out and just, give me more and make it make more sense, please. And let's see what was really going on in Guy's head. I really think they need to develop Guy. I think he's really two-dimensional as a character. And if he's the main fucking character, you need something more than that. Now, I will give the mammary glands a straight 12 out of 10 on that. So, I like them big and round. So what can I say? And in my face. So I couldn't get that part, but anyway, I got a reasonable facsimile sitting over there. my beautiful redhead. So, but anyway, with all that said and done, I guess what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to close out this episode of Hot Takes Anime with Big Fat Brian and your boy Pat. Everybody, say goodbye.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us.
Dad,